thought Spain played really well. I thought there were definitely moments you're like, whoa, like that at the very end when Sané gets that break, you're like, what? Where did this come from? All of a sudden, you might lose this game in the last second.
Oh, it was crazy.
That was insane because as we spoke about before the game, imagine if Germany beat Spain, then this group is wide. I didn't think Costa Rica were going to beat Japan, but they did.
Now all of a sudden, Costa Rica maybe not that bad. I think we can really start getting very excited about this team, and if anything, those that were perhaps overly critical can also kind of take a step back and recognize the achievements of this Spanish squad under Lucho's command, right? I mean, we talked about it in the last pod. We didn't even mention, and that kind of slipped afterwards. I thought, damn, I didn't bring up the whole UEFA Nations League point. That, okay, take that for what it's worth. It's still in a final. I mean, Spain, I'm sorry, are still in the final four of the UEFA Nations League with an option to win that. Obviously, in the last Euros, they got to the semifinals. We all felt, rightfully so, that they deserved to have a face-off against England for what have been an amazing Euros final. Imagine that England against that Spain would have been fireworks. With all that being said, the 7-0 against Costa Rica was sort of, it's Costa Rica. They were poor. Now Costa Rica actually defeats Japan, that, que plantó la cara, that really stuck it to Germany, walked away with the 3 points. All of a sudden, we maybe need to see them in a different light as well. And then you have this game against Germany that also perhaps, and for, again, not that I've been critical with Flick's performance as head coach of Germany. My beef with them is my silly little, petty rivalries that I have. Like, it's the equivalent to Real Madrid. I mean, they are on par.
What were you feeling when Rudiger scored, of all people? The German Real Madrid center back 1-0 against Spain, then got disallowed. I was thinking of you. I was like, oh man, this must suck for Diego. But then
I celebrated that disallowance like it was a goal, obviously. So I was very happy. But the point being is that, Hansi Flick has been doing a solid job with his Germany team that is obviously in a very tough situation, but that still has a lot of quality to know how to play very good football. And last night we saw a Lucho against Hansi that was quite fun to see, pleasant to see, despite obviously the low score, the 1-0. I think this game could have finished 3-0, and we would have necessarily been surprised. Spain without one superstar, with a very impressive midfield, Pedri, Gavi, Busquets, again, for me, are just the engine. The way Pedri moves. There was one, I think I retweeted as well. There was an aerial shot of from a drone. You saw that? That was beautiful. Watching them move like that gives you an entirely, at least me, perspective on how that game is played and how it's so much like chess. And seeing the German squad also kind of, their defensive line move according to Spain's passes, and then ending up, the passing is so nice. It ends up with Dani Olmo, who then has that wicked shot against the crossbar and unfortunately doesn't go in. But it was, I enjoyed watching that. And I had a profound respect as well for Germany. I felt that, you mentioned the Sané moment. If they would have walked away with the 3 points, you would have been like, well, the better team won on the night, because I thought it was very much on par in that sense. And again, just very proud of Lucho's work with this team as well. I think, again, his idea as a coach is really being illustrated and putting out on display at the highest level. In the World Cup tournament, Spain has to be taken serious. These guys can go all the way to the final, and I think Germany still can as well.
That's a pretty good assessment, and I'm curious to ask you some more questions about this, because my assessment was similar in that I think Spain and Germany in this particular game were pretty close. If I had to pick one team that was better, I think Spain was a little bit better. But I also think if Sané had to score at the end, it would have been a deserved result, that they would have won that. I mean, that was tight. It was tight, and I mentioned this last night too, that games like this, when it's two teams who are technically really gifted and they have two coaches who are really smart tactically, sometimes it's not like this entertaining 5-5 game. It's just more of a chess match.
Right.
And some people may have found that boring. I actually, I thought it was a good game. I thought it was interesting. Did I just break up for a second there?
No, you're good.
So what is interesting though to me is that as good as Spain were, it's like the same things, the same questions that we've always had about them is like, we discussed, maybe they go out of the group stages, maybe they win the World Cup final. There is that variance in their play. I felt within this game, you saw some of that variance where there's like stretches where like they're toying with Germany. And then there was stretches like, what the fuck was that? What happened there? And I feel like there is that concern of like, you go into a knockout stage game, you play amazing, quote unquote, amazing football. All it takes is 1 moment, 2 moments of slippage, and you get burned. And in this game, so because both Spain and Germany were pressing high, it seemed like almost they were taking turns giving the ball away as well in the press. For Germany, a bunch of players, including Neuer. For Spain, it was Carvajal, Unai Simon, Laporte, especially in the second half. Busquets had 1 or 2. And then there are like the question of like Rodri at center back has like obviously worked at Costa Rica. Nothing to worry about there. That Sané chance at the end, it was Rodri just looking at Sané, walking by him, and then pointing to someone to take him. There's no one there, maybe because he's used to a center back being behind him, and he's not used to that role. And I'm not even going to say it's his fault. This is just something he's naturally feels. His instinct for the game is as a defensive.
That's his instinct, correct?
Yeah, and so there's questions like that. I don't love the performance of the right wing. I thought Carvajal was poor. I thought when Nico Williams came in, it was a source of anxiety because he looked like he wasn't up for the occasion. A lot of poor touches. So there's that concern. And then there's like all these amazing things happening also. Like, so I don't just like, it's not perfect is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I guess I could just see that this team could dominate anyone, but also there's room for slippage there that I'm concerned about.
As a Madridista, and I can say that as a culé as well. I mean, I have over the years, the moments, and I've never been shy of admitting my, Holland and Spain are my 2 teams. That's always been the case. I've never been shy, despite being culé, to support Spain. Even now in the office, it can get awkward, you might think, and sometimes it does, perhaps. But to sort of support Spain and parade that around is like, yes, vamos España. Saying that, so my point being, I looked forward to the moments where I could support like a Kiko or a Raúl, or you know what I mean, players from the other side, of Mendieta, that you can root for once they play for your team. My question, Kiyan, is as a Madridista, are you sort of silently wishing, and like all culés, that Lucho plays Ansu a little more in those moments instead of bringing a Nico on? Or
I was shocked Ansu didn't get on the field, and this is like the variance you can get with Luis Enrique. It is sometimes random, and it's like, in what world is Nico Williams a better option than Ansu? I don't know. What do you like? No one can sit here and give a logical, tactical explanation for that. But you just have to be like, oh, well, we believe in Lucho because he knows what he's doing. And I'm not saying that's wrong to think that, but I'm just saying that these are the moments you're like, should Rodri be playing center back against Mbappe? Should Nico Williams be coming on in a game where against was that his first World Cup appearance ever? Right? Must have been. I'm not counting, but I'm assuming. Yeah. So was he up for the billing? Did someone with more leadership experience needed to come on?